Afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Mel Debenham. I'm General Manager of Supermums Consulting, so the recruitment arm of our business. We really appreciate your time today. Just to give you a little bit of housekeeping before I pass over to Paula, we got 4 sessions for you today, which I hope will be really, really useful and that you'll be able to take away some hints and tips. But in terms of questions, we would love to answer them. If you can drop those into the chat, and towards the end of today's session, we'll go through those questions and see if we can answer as many as we can. So thank you very much again for listening, and I'm going to pass you over to Paula. Paula.
System. Sorry, did everybody else get that as well? Recording in progress.
Yeah, don't worry. It's fine. I'm sorry,
that threw me there. That threw me.
Beginning. Apologies, sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, so throughout the training side of the company, we've got quite a clear mission and some really good values, and we bring them over to the recruitment side of the business. So yes, we're a recruitment agency. Yes, there's lots of Salesforce recruitment agencies out there at the moment, but hopefully those of you who have already had experience with us, and those of you who may be looking to sign up after today, will feel that we're a bit more than a recruitment agency. We're quite a very good support function. So we will help you through every stage of the recruitment process, from helping you with your CV through to career advice and where you want to go, through job application and interview, and support through your interviews. And one of the key things that we do as well is we like to get feedback from our clients. Feedback is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So hopefully it puts you in a stronger position going forward for any applications that you do. So that's a brief bit about Supermums. So on the back of that support function, I just wanted to speak to you about the mentoring support that we can offer you. So if you're stuck at the moment, or you're new to the Salesforce ecosystem and you don't know where to go, Supermums have a lot of resources and stuff that we often post on LinkedIn that you'll probably see if you follow us, which can help guide you on the right career path for you within Salesforce. The recruitment consultants here are quite knowledgeable in Salesforce as well. So it's really good that we can have these one-to-ones and spend that bit of time getting to know you as a person and what your long-term goals are, and having that good understanding of the type of company that you would want to work for. So there's different career pathways that you can go into. Then I don't want to go into finer details of all of that today, but there is everybody who's registered for today and attending today. I understand that Heather will send you a 50% discount on the Boost Your Salesforce Career Short course, which is a mini course, which is designed and delivered by Heather Black herself, who is a certified career coach and experienced Salesforce professional. You get 1 hour of content, and she also gives you some workbooks to help you take immediate action on that. There's 4 modules included in that course, and that is set your goals, showcase your skills, find your perfect job, and how to land it. So that's a really good short course. I would say the normal price of it is £49. So obviously if you get that half price, you're looking at less than £25. And I think that would be a really, really good step wherever you are in your career. I speak to a lot of people who have been an admin for so many years now, and they decide that they want something different, but they just don't know where to go. So a call with a recruitment consultant or that short course would definitely be something that would be able to put you on the right path, and maybe help you think outside of the box, because I know a lot of people feel a bit stringent in the roles that they do. But actually, with all the other transferable skills that you've got that you can bring to the table, we can really sell you into clients and get you into that perfect company and that perfect role that you're looking for. So that is all from me. So moving on to that, in terms of the mentoring and support and that what we do, I want to pass to Ikra now, who's going to go through some interview top tips for you.
Hi all, my name is Ikra Ahmad. I'll be covering a very crucial part where I think everyone needs a little bit support or a push. And I'm sure all of you must be really good with your jobs or with your technical expertise. But I think when a time comes to give the interview, we all get little nervous, right? And it is quite normal. We do get anxieties. Sometimes we're not sure how to present ourselves or how to answer a few questions. So today I'll be covering some hints and tips that how to nail your job interview. I'm sure most of the tips you might already know or you might have heard it before, but I believe sometimes it's really good to refresh it again. So let's just get started with the first tip, that is make sure that you do a full research about the company you're applying to. Find out about their mission, vision, what are their core values or principles. Find out that, which platforms do they use most often and who is going to take your interview. What's their job title of the hiring manager? Because if you won't be able to answer this question, then trust me, your interview won't even last for 15 minutes. So make sure that you prepare this answer really well. Second is the most important and common question that we hear in our interviews like all the time, that is describe yourself, or tell me a bit more about yourself. Now, by giving this answer, either you can create a remarkable impression or you can lose your chance. So I always suggest to my candidates that make sure to cover 4 to 5 areas to answer to this question. First, tell them that you have done research on them. Second, tell them that tell them about your past or current experience, which is relevant to this job. Third, talk about your skill set, which you have got. Again, that should be relevant to the job you're applying to. Fourth, tell them that you're passionate to work with them. Number 5, talk about your personality traits. So for example, you can tell them that, I have gone through a job spec and found out that what kind of a candidate you're looking for. You can tell them that, I believe it's a very diverse role. I truly believe that, with the ability and the confidence I have got, I can do really well because currently or in the past, I have been doing or I have done XYZ things, right? So, and this is how you have tackled the situation in the past. Give this example as well. So in this question, you're telling them that, you have done research on them. You're telling them about your past experience. You're telling them about your personality traits, your skill set, everything. So make sure that you prepare this answer really well. Number 3 is, to keep your hiring manager engaged. That is one of the important tip again. So if the interviewer asks you a question, don't just answer in one word. For example, if they have asked you a question, have you got experience with this? And you'll go like, yeah, I do. Have you done this before? No, I haven't. So make sure you don't do this. Usually this is the problem with those who are introverts, right? They don't try to start the conversation. And that's why it is important to keep your hiring managers engaged. If your answer is yes, why do you think your answer is yes? Share your knowledge or experience with them. Give them examples. Even if you don't have experience with something, it's absolutely fine. So I always suggest to my candidates that, when you're preparing for your interview, make sure that you go through the job description thoroughly. For example, if they are asking about a specific feature like NPSP or Pardot, so find out about these features before. Why do these features, use this company? What are they used? Why do you need to do this, right? So make sure that you use, the terms very well, okay? And in worst come worst situation, even if you don't have any knowledge about these terms, and if you get completely blank, then what you can do is you can tell them that, oh, you know what? Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll try to find out right after this call. Show them that you're enthusiastic, right? Show them that you're passionate to learn new things, right? It's normal that sometimes we do get confused. Sometimes it's okay that, while giving the interviews, our mind gets really blank, but this is how we can tackle the situation. But the best thing is always make sure that you go through the job description thoroughly. The next is that I would suggest that always prepare 7 to 8 questions when you're going for an interview. Make a list of questions, few based on technical skills, few on general questions, but just ask 3 to 4 questions from that list. Now, the reason I'm asking you to prepare 7 to 8 questions, because I'm sure once you will be in the interview, the interviewer will, start off giving the introduction, and few of your questions will already be ticked off. So it's always best to prepare more than 4 questions. You can ask 1 technical questions or 3 general questions, or if you want to save technical questions for the second round, again, that's up to you, okay? So usually, my candidates ask me that, Ikra, what general questions shall we ask from the hiring manager? So what you can ask is about what is the career progression for me in this company? Can you tell me about the team I'll be working with? What are the current goals that the company is more focused on? And how does this team work to support hitting those goals, right? You can also ask about that, what type of skills is the team missing that you're looking to fill with a new hire? Or what's going to be the biggest challenge that someone in this position would face? if you want to ask questions about learning and development, then you can ask that, what learning and professional development opportunities are available for me here in this company? And will I, like, after getting some new projects, am I going to learn some new skills or not? Okay, so these are some general questions which you can ask in your first stage interview or second. The next is, if you know that you will be working in a team, then just make sure you give examples on some team building. Now, be smart in a way that you tell them how you used to do things on your own, that, how supportive you are, but then also let them know that you're a supportive team member as well, that you're willing to go extra mile if any of your team member needs any help. For instance, they might going to ask you that, how's the relationship with your team members? Or they can ask you about the change management. For instance, how will you convince people in your team if they do not agree on something? So these are some questions which they can ask you, okay? Next is, if you have an online interview, just make sure that you come online at least 10 minutes before your interview starts. Check everything, if your mic's working properly, your speaker's working properly, sit somewhere in a very quiet place with a clear background. And if it's a panel interview, make sure that you keep both of them engaged. While answering to their question, look straight at the camera. Right now, even I am watching straight through the camera as well, okay? Ask questions from both if you can. While giving the online interviews, it's a request, please do not come online from your mobiles. It gives very unprofessional look. Try to come online from your laptop, okay? And then both shoulders should be seen, your posture should be straight. Don't use a lot of hand gestures. Now, I know it is quite common to use hand gestures when you're explaining something to someone. And trust me, right now, even I'm doing the same as well. But you guys can't see it on camera. So my hands are below. So if you're using it, just make sure that you keep it below the camera, okay? And you should keep a notepad and a pen with you all the time. Dress something nicely, wear some formal. And if your interview is face-to-face, then make sure you arrive at least 15 to 20 minutes before your interview starts. If you want, you can go to the toilet, relax yourself, do some touch-up, check if your hair's looking good, calm yourself, and drink water, okay? And then during the interview, like once obviously the hiring manager comes, make sure you sound and look confident when you greet to the hiring manager. The hiring manager should extend their first to initiate the handshake. So make sure that, you look at the person in the eye, smile, and then do the handshake. And one more tip, which I always suggest, if the hiring manager has asked you a question and you require more time to think, and you have suddenly got blank, then what you should do, have a sip of water. This trick always works, right? So make sure that you keep a glass of water in front of you and you think about it, that how you're going to respond to this question. Your hands should not be on the table. It should be on laps when you're giving face-to-face interview. And yeah, that's it. Now, I just want to wish everyone who has their interview this week or, soon going to have the interview, best of luck. But just remember that, yes, technical skills are really important, but personality matters a lot as well. It doesn't matter if you have just started your career in a new field or, you're looking for an entry-level role. But if you have got the confidence, if you're enthusiastic, and if you're going to follow these steps, which I have just discussed, you smash your interview, right? I think my teammates will agree to with me as well that we have placed so many entry-level candidates before, despite lacking prior experience, they have managed to charm their ways into their first Salesforce role. Okay, so I wish you all the best. And now I'm going to pass to Mel. She's going to discuss some contractual piece. So Mel, over to you.
Thank you. Wow, love that. Some really good hints and tips.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so what we're known a lot for is first and foremost for placing Supermum trainees, so entry-level admins, and we're also known reasonably well for placing permanent hires. But just to let people know that that's not all we do. So in terms of the candidates that we place, Supermums have the ability to place entry level, and that's what we do. You know, the consulting arm was really set up to be able to support some of our trainees get into their first opportunity. But beyond that, as we've grown our business, we'll now place people into a variety of job roles. So if you are moving into that next role, or you're already in that next role, we will place developers, consultants, project managers, product owners, and so on and so forth. And another area of our business is that we don't just place people into permanent opportunities, we also place people into contract job roles. And what I would say is that the life of a contractor can be quite rewarding. It's not something that you have to do forever. It's a really good way to build up your expertise. And again, certainly if you are at entry level, we've placed a number of our Supermums into contract roles that have been there 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And actually what that's given them is that great opportunity to build upon their skills, create that confidence that they're looking for, to be able to then effectively follow some of Ikra's great skills when they go for an interview for a permanent opportunity. So the demand for contractors, what I will say about contracting is that the demand for contractors is heavily influenced by whatever is going on in the economy. Up until the pandemic, what was happening was that there was an equal mix of need for both contract and permanent hires. Clearly, the world kind of came to a standstill when the pandemic hit, and then what's happened immediately after the pandemic, certainly for the first 12 months, is that the market really took off, with a need to potentially backfill some of those roles that were furloughed, where there was that natural sort of people were either laid off, or people just left and moved on into other areas. And then what we found in terms of the market is, whilst there is still a need, particularly within the Salesforce ecosystem, to continue to hire permanently, as the market tends to swing, and that tends to swing with the economy. So there's been a lot of talk across the globe about recession, is the contractor market tends to pick up a little bit. And that's mainly because organisations that potentially are a little bit more nervous about putting in a full salary on a long-term basis tend to go towards well, we've got this immediate need. How can we fill it now? How can we not have that full salary, but how can we do it on a short term? Because one of the benefits of an organisation using contractors is that they can flex their workforce up and flex it down, depending upon how busy their business is at any one time. What I will say about contract jobs is that almost 80% of any contract job in any sector, certainly across the UK and across the US, and I know looking at the chat we've got people from elsewhere, is that 80% of those roles eventually find their way towards a recruiter or a recruitment agency, rather than you see them advertised online or offline. Yeah, so applying for a contract job works exactly the same as it does a permanent job role with an agency. You would potentially register your details with a recruiter. So in the case of Supermums, we call it an onboarding call. So you will onboard with one of our recruiters, and they will try and find out as much as they can possibly find out about you, your background, your experience. If you're an experienced Salesforce professional, what they're going to be looking for is, what's your experience? How long have you worked in the Salesforce ecosystem? What does your tech stack look like? If you're new into the Salesforce ecosystem and you are looking for that entry-level job, what they're going to be looking for is to talk to you a little bit more about your past experience and what skills you've got that they can leverage when they're talking to a potential employer on your behalf. So we'll find out a little bit more about you. We'll talk to you about any particular contracts that we may have at any one time. We'll discuss rates with you. So the whole process is very similar to the process that you would go through when you're working or when you're applying for a permanent opportunity. When you then offered that opportunity, so we would come, we talk to you and say, right, okay, we've got this great contract opportunity. This is what it is. This is where it is. This is what you're going to be doing. This is what the potential rate of pay will be. How do you feel about that? You come back and say, it sounds great. I would love that. We would then, just in the same way as we would for a permanent role, we would submit your details, or we would talk to the client about your background and your experience. In an ideal world, you would potentially get that job without an interview. So it's up to the agency to talk through your background, your experience, why we think you're a great fit for the work that they need completing. And ultimately, the ideal scenario for us is that the client goes, yep, that's great, let's give them a whirl, and off you go to work. What I will say is that probably in the market at the moment, clients are wanting to at least have a touch-based conversation, and they are wanting to meet people, generally over Teams, because most contract work tends to be more remote than it does office-based or hybrid. So you might have a 15-minute, 20-minute conversation to outline your background, your experience. They'll potentially tell you what the scope of works is. And then ultimately, you would end up agreeing a start date. What you'll get from us is an assignment details that tells you how long your contract is likely to last, what your pay is, and as much as we can tell you. And then on a weekly basis, you would submit a timesheet. So you'd complete the work, you would submit your timesheet, the employer would sign your timesheet, and you would get paid. But how do you get paid? So there are different ways of working as a contractor. So if we've got anybody that's contracting at the moment, what you will find is that, you know, there's a lot of talk in the market about something that's called IR35. And I'm not going to go into that today, but IR35 is basically, it's a tax rule. And it was brought in to the public sector probably about 11 or 12 years ago. And the government, when they wanted to fill up the coffers for the government, they decided that they were going to roll out off payroll working rules across the private sector. And at that time, there were over 1 million limited company contractors operating across the UK. And those limited company contractors, some of them were very legitimate contractors doing a job under a scope of work agreement, but lots of those contractors were actually what somebody might call a hidden employee. And as a contractor working under their own limited company, they weren't paying tax and national insurance in the same way that I might pay or you might pay in a permanent job. So that's why they decided to bring in a change around what's called IR35. And really all that is, it's a different way of working. So I would say that most contractors will work via a limited or an umbrella company. So you can still work via a limited company. But one of the main differences for IR35 was that prior to the change in IR35 rules, the contractor was able to make the decision about what their tax status was. So a limited company contractor could say, oh, I'm a limited company contractor, I can determine my own tax status. With the change to IR35, that ability to make the decision about the tax status falls with the end hirer. So the organisation that someone would work for as a contractor determines, is it an inside or an outside IR35 job role. And the difference is just how somebody would pay their taxes. So you can work via an umbrella or you could work via your own limited company. I would say that it's probably more usual these days for people to be working through an umbrella company, particularly, let's say that you're entry level and really what you're looking for is not to become a career contractor, but you would just like that flexibility to do some contract work. And it's probably a little bit more like temporary work than it is true contract work. So you would go through an umbrella company and an umbrella company will be responsible for setting you up. So you're set up almost as one of their employees. So you'll have a contract of employment with the umbrella company. And they will sort out any of your admin, your taxes, your national insurance, and they will pay you your net salary on a monthly or weekly basis. So that's relatively straightforward. And what I would say is probably that the real benefits of choosing contract work, particularly if you're just starting out, is it gives you the ability to create some great connections. Yeah. So all different sizes of organizations and companies will hire contractors for specific projects or specific tasks. So it will allow you to get experience with varying different business models and understand what it's like to work in different company cultures within the ecosystem. It will also give you the opportunity to build your skills. So contract positions can give you the opportunity to work on a variety of different projects. You know, we've got some people, in fact, I spoke to one of our contractors this morning and she's just about to start a new contract for us, which is a couple of days a week. She's already doing a day a week for another organisation for us, and I spoke to her this morning about working on a contract basis just a day a week for another organisation. So by the time, if she gets certainly the last position, what she's actually got is 6 to 9 months of guaranteed work, but pretty much 5 days a week. So, you know, she can work as much as she wants. If she wants to do part-time, she can do part-time. So for me, they're probably the biggest benefits of choosing contract work. I would say that if you are an experienced Salesforce professional, the extra benefit is that it gives you the freedom of choice. So, you know, those who choose to do contract work can have freedom to pick what projects or contracts that might appeal to them, particularly in a market that's busy and where the demand is quite high. I guess the other things are that, you know, you tend to avoid the office, you might get better pay. So you do get better pay. So you would generally be paid a day rate or an hourly rate. And that you would probably work out would be a higher day rate than what it would be if you were a permanent employee. Certainly, if you're starting out in your Salesforce career, it gives you the chance to test out a particular industry. And you know what? Sometimes our contractors go out and do such a fantastic job that the client actually wants to offer them a permanent position. So doing some contracting work could lead to that permanent opportunity that you might be looking for. Now, it would be unfair to say that it was all perfect being a contractor, because there are some, I guess, some cons of working as a contractor. So things such as fewer tax options, fewer benefits. Yeah, so you do get a higher daily rate, but what you don't get is a holiday allowance. Unless you're working as a limited company, as an umbrella employee, you will have the opportunity of holiday there. There's probably less job security because a contract can end at any time. Most of the contracts that we have, we try and work in some notice. So it's not a case of on a Friday afternoon, look, you've done a great job, but we don't need you anymore. There tends to be a week's notice in there. So you do get a little bit of notice. And I would say that, you know, certainly if you're entry level, whilst you're gaining some great experience and you're building up your confidence of working with the Salesforce platform, I guess from a contract point of view, you're probably going to find that there may be less opportunities to advance your career because you are a contractor and that's the route that you've gone down. But I guess for those entry level, you can twist that on its head or turn that on its head, and very much what you will find is that you know, you're in a situation whereby whilst you're not necessarily looking for advancement, your advancement at any one time is about your ability to build that confidence and, I guess, learn and develop your skills on the platform. So contracting can be really, really rewarding. It can be beneficial. It's a great place for people to start. If you have been in a situation where you're looking for that next job opportunity, I know when I go on some of my regular conversations with people that are coming towards the end of the Supermums training course, one of the things that I'll often get asked is, oh, but you know, there's loads and loads of job opportunities, but every job opportunity that I see says somebody needs to have 2 to 3 years experience. I've got a view of that, but ultimately contracting can help you bridge that gap just for a short period of time. You don't have to be a full-time contractor. You know, we've got different levels of people. We've got people that are what I'd call a career contractor. They only contract. That's how they make their money. They work when they want. In fact, Libby that's on here this afternoon was chatting to someone a couple of days ago, and basically they said, oh, I'd just like to work 9 months of the year and have 3 months off. So it's a really good way of doing that. So, you know, in a nutshell, we can help you if you're looking for contract work. It's the same process. You would probably come and reach through to any of the consultants, but you'd probably end up right at this moment in time chatting to me about what it is that you're looking for and how you would like any contracting to work and where you feel that you're most confident, whether that be with someone like a consultancy, an ISV or a non-profit. So that's it in terms of our section on contracting. And as I said earlier, you know, we may have a mix of people on today's call, whether you're experienced or whether you are at that first level of job role. What you will find as you get into the Salesforce ecosystem, it's busy, and there will become a time, if there isn't a time right now, where you'll be in a position where your team needs to grow. So we're going to take a little bit of a twist in terms of not just telling you how to find a job, but actually once you've got that job, once you've progressed personally, how we can help you or your organisation support you in terms of growing that team. So over to Libby.
Thank you. I just want to say there's over 70 people here, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today. I really do hope you're taking some valuable tips. And I think, you know, everyone so far has really shared some notes that I think are very helpful. Even when Ikra took a sip of the drink, I thought that's actually really, really smart. Because even I say about the hand gesture thing to people, I'm such a hand gesture person, and how you were saying about having your face and your shoulders on camera, that's what I do with my clients, because I'm so handsy on camera. So I really try not to be. So no, some really fantastic tips so far. I guess if you've got any questions, please do keep them going in the chat so that we can obviously pick that up in a second with you all. I really just wanted to talk about how, as your career is going to progress, whether you are just starting now, whether you're moving into a senior job, or you already are hiring within the Salesforce ecosystem for your employer, you know, growth of your team is going to become an important part. So I guess sharing the Supermums journey as our clients go through it, what they do with us, how we help them, because you guys, if you've been through an interview process with us, or you've heard about it, you've seen our testimonials, you know, you're seeing that from a candidate perspective. But actually we do a lot for our clients, and I think it's important for you guys to see that in case you ever needed it. And I also do think it's very valuable for your future to have a confident tool and an opportunity for the connection that you already have with Supermums now to take that into your future jobs, so that if you did ever need any help with hiring, you know we're here. So I guess I just wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of what we do. I work in the client services team, so what that means is I actually meet with clients really frequently, and then I pass on the amazing jobs that we take to Paula and Ikra, and that's when they reach out to you guys and they tell you about them jobs. So I guess I just want to tell you what we do for them clients, apart from helping them, of course, with their diversity, and making them have a bit more diverse ecosystem within their team. So we'll have a meeting with them to identify what their needs are, and set up some terms of business to make sure it's affordable for them. So depending on the business we're working with, we work with all types of businesses, as Mel's just said. Could be a non-profit, could be an ISV, end user, including non-profits, of course, consultancies. So depending on what business you may be working at now, if you know wherever you're working, or if a new employee that you're going to be joining is still hiring, that's a really valuable little bit of information for you to add to them, to go, look, I've actually got a connection here at Supermums that will be able to help you. So, you know, my name would be really valuable to be able to throw their way. And then alongside that, once we've had a meeting with them, we then would make sure we've got some clear requirements so that the girls can then go to you guys and actually get some interviews booked for them. And we take all that process away from them. There's a lot of stress of working in the recruitment market, and actually trying to do that hiring yourself. So we actually manage their diaries. We will actually do all the interview prep calls with all of our candidates, as you'll know if you've been through an interview call with us. And we really make sure that what they're looking for in the market is achievable, showing them the salary expectations of the candidates like you guys that are in the market, making sure that they're looking for the right thing that is actually out there. And we're not looking for a unicorn, because we do get some clients that look for a unicorn and they're not out there. So we advise them and put them in the right direction. And then at the end of that, you know, making sure that that offer goes smoothly, so that you guys get an offer that's fair. They also get a candidate that's the right fit for them. And, you know, we get hopefully a match made in heaven. And then when we get towards the end of that, securing a start date that's comfortable for everybody, and then making sure that throughout the first 8 to 12 weeks, depending on what we've agreed on, really do go as smooth as possible on all ends. So it does take a lot of stress away, that if you are currently in a senior job, you'll know exactly what I mean. And if you're not, and one day you will be going to that, hopefully what I'm saying right now will be valuable and you'll think back on it, because at some point you may be involved in the hiring process, or you will hear that your team is hiring and you will hear the stress that is involved in the hiring process. And obviously that's what we're here to help with. So yeah, if any of your employers are looking at hiring at the moment and you'd like to give them a bit of advice, or you know, you're trying to help them grow their team, it's always a difficult one. Salesforce ecosystem, as you all know, you're all here right now in it. It's a difficult market to work in, and we want to help every client that we can. But if you wanted to pitch on how you needed growth, if you're working a job at the moment where you feel you need support, then you know, you can always pitch that Supermums can support with that. because that's what we're here to do. We want to make sure that we're getting that diversity and getting Supermums into the ecosystem and working with them clients. So I'm not sure if that'll be of any value to anybody at this point, but hopefully for your future, because I know we've got a little bit more entry-level candidates with us today.
Thanks, Libby.
No problem.
Okay, so I think Paula's popped in the chat. If you've got any questions, pop those in the chat for us now. But what we'd like to do is turn the tables and ask you guys to do a little bit of work. So we've got 2 polls for you. We would really love to know a little bit more about you and why you've joined us today. So Jen's going to pop the first poll out and we're going to give you a minute to complete that. And then the second one will come out and we'll give you a minute to complete that before we move into questions and answers. Jen, over to you.
You should be able to see a poll on your screen right now. If you could just all just select your answers, that would be great. Thanks. I'll give you a few more seconds if anybody else still needs to answer, and then I will end this one and pop up the next question. That's great. Thank you, everybody. And let me do the next one. Oh. Give me 1 second. It kicked me out my screen. I'm coming back. Hold on. There we go. Okay. The second one is coming your way now. So just want to know a little bit more about where you are in your job search today. That'd be really helpful. Few more seconds if anybody still needs to answer this question, and then we will move on to your questions. Thank you very much. Mel, I think it's over to you. Do you want me to sift through some questions, or can you see the latest ones and I'll go back to ones that were asked earlier? Oh, Mel, you're on mute. Mel, you're on mute.
Mute. There you go. I'm talking away to myself for 5 minutes. Sorry about that. I think Paula's got some questions. She's gone through the chat. So we're going to go through the chat, but please do not be shy. If you've got a burning question, feel absolutely free to raise your hand on here and ask your question.
Okay,
but Paula, over to you as the quiz question master.
Here's the Martin Lewis Money Show. So I'm on the stage with the big screen. I'm going to be asking out the questions, and Mel is Martin for the next 10 minutes. So first question is from Tina. Now she's got 2 questions actually. Will I be able to do contract work as soon as I've done the Marketing Cloud course? And also she would like to know what the job market is like in the northwest of England, Manchester, Liverpool area for contract work.
Okay, so when you've done your marketing course, cloud course, would you be able to, I'll say, on board with us for contract work? Absolutely, yeah. And as I've said, what we'll do is we will talk to you about your skills, your background, etc., and really have a look at what your skill set is. Unfortunately, what we don't do is we don't sit here and wait for jobs to come in. It would be really, really easy in recruitment if we sat here and someone rang up and said, oh, by the way, you know, don't suppose that Libby that's just onboarded with you is available tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. So in effect, we, as much as we're recruiters, we're salespeople as well. So once we've talked to you about your background and your experience, we call it go to market, but we will talk to our current clients, our lapsed clients, anybody that's used us in the past couple of months but isn't using us now. And we will also talk to a really big population of clients that we would love to work with and we've never had the chance. And we will talk to them about your skills and your background and your experience. So can you register? Absolutely. Can we find you something? We'll absolutely do our best. And then your letter question was, what is the contract market like in the Northwest? I would say it's pretty much the same as everywhere else, except with the exception of London. London is obviously busy because it's the capital and it's huge and it's where Salesforce are and it's where all, you know, there's loads of great big organizations there that are using Salesforce. But if you moved out of London into what I would call the regions, is it busy? Yeah, it's pretty much just the same as Perm. There are some really good clients that we've got in the Northwest. So definitely some people that we could speak to about you and your background, depending on what that looks like when we meet you.
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. So we've got a next question. I hope that answers your question, Tina. So Yossi Curtis has a question. It's very similar. I'm still considering joining the Marketing Cloud course starting in June. Is the course enough to secure a role using that knowledge, whether contract or permanent? And if somebody could please talk about the prospects post-Marketing Cloud course, that would be great.
Okay. We potentially might have needed Maria or someone on today.
I know. But the good thing is,
what we don't do is we don't get involved in any of the training or any of the courses at all. But what I would say is that in terms of once you've done that course, does it open up your opportunities, whether it be through us or through your own direct methods? Absolutely. Marketing Cloud currently is an in-demand skill. It's a skill that people or organizations are looking for. In terms of you know, the kinds of organizations, you know, they can be huge organizations, they can be very small organizations. You know, it's not available at the moment because it was a vacancy we worked on a few months ago. But if you think of someone like Formula One, if anyone's into car racing, you know, it was on, the Grand Prix was on yesterday. They are one organisation that will use Marketing Cloud. And if you think about their window, they've got a 12-week window over the summer period, really, where the race season is. And Formula One are not a racing team, so they're pushing out news from the event. They're pushing news out on the Saturday, they're pushing news out on the Sunday. They are talking about accidents, they're talking about, you know, rankings and all sorts of things. So that is a huge organization. But then you can find a small, medium-sized non-profit that ultimately are using Marketing Cloud for fundraising. So the market for Marketing Cloud is vast right now.
I hope that answers your question, Yossi. So we have a question as well from Mona Lisa. Hi, I have enrolled for the June course of Marketing Cloud. I'm from an IT background, but was working on a different skill set. Will it be possible for me to get a Marketing Cloud job after the course?
It's a really hard one because I don't know what your, I know you've given a brief overview of your background, but as I said earlier, what we would be looking to do through the onboarding process is to be able to leverage on your old skills and push those out into a job role that you're ideally looking for. So
I think
it's a
that
bit of
course
a tough
that
one.
everybody gets a discount on for attending today as well will really help you in that. And I think when you complete the Marketing Cloud course, you will have a career call, I think with either Maria or Diana, if I'm right.
Yeah.
Is that right, Mel? And that'll be a really, really good chat on a one-on-one basis, the same as the discounted short course with Heather, where they get to know you, and that you'll have that time to be able to really speak about where you've come from, what you've been learning, and where you want to go, and what your long-term goals are. So the one-to-one call that you'll have on either course would be really good for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Prajakta, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Do you recruit and also do placement together if the candidate has a good career background?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you recruit and also do placement together if the candidate has a good career background? I think they mean placing jobs, do they?
Yeah, it depends what you mean by do you place, but
Yes.
I think, go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Means I want, if I have background, see, I'm UI UX designer. I'm right now working, and I want to go, means like I need to get into Salesforce because they have separate branch in UI UX designing.
Mhm.
So before that, I'm just thinking I will do the Marketing Cloud course, and then I will understand the platform, and then I will do the UI UX designing. So my question is, if I have really good background, do you do the recruit, means like, do you introduce with companies, and then all you will take care of all the all the what I can say, means do you take care of all the background check and everything, and then do you give the placement there
It would
after interview?
depend. If it's a contract job, then ultimately we would place you, and then we probably speak to you on a weekly basis to make sure that your contract is going well, and we would do pretty much all of the paperwork that would need to happen to get you into that contract. From a permanent point of view, if it was a permanent opportunity that you were looking for, then ultimately we would we talk to you about the job role. If it was a job role that was of interest, we would present your CV to the client. If the client opted to interview you, and that's their choice, then, as Ikra talked about earlier, we would support you through the interview process, giving you all of those hints and tips to make sure that you were confident at your interview. It may well be that there's a second, sometimes a third stage interview, so we would do the same at each interview step. And then ultimately, if the client wanted to make you an offer, we would present that offer to you. And once you'd accepted that, ultimately the contract for your employment would come from that employer. And if there were any background checks or anything like that, they would do that on your behalf. But it depends what kind of checks you mean.
Okay. Means I got steps, all the steps. Means I got my clarity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next question is from Yurvi. Is the admin certification mandatory before contacting your recruitment team for the Salesforce admin entry-level job? If no, then what is the start point of the process, and who from the team should she contact or he contact to start the recruiting process? Okay. I did put the link to the website in the chat earlier, guys. If anybody wants to register, the website's real simple, supermums.org. And there is a recruitment section on there. And if you want to register for job alerts or book a call, please feel free to complete your details on there, and we'll get a call book from that point on.
And in answer to that question, you can register with the recruitment team at any stage of your course. What you do need to remember, though, is that your certification underpins your skill and your knowledge. And whilst we would love to help you, whilst you can register with us, we're probably going to help you towards the latter stage of your course, because ultimately, if you're on the admin course, you will have access to Maria and Diane, who are your career coaches. They will help you with your CV. And then the very last thing that you're probably going to do before your certification is one of the pro bono work placements. And you can use that on your CV. So where it's really beneficial for our supermums to get that first job in comparison to somebody that's just worked their way through trailheads to get their certification is that you can actually use live experience. So you can actually list your project almost as a job on your CV. So what you've got in comparison to someone that hasn't studied through Supermums or something similar, if they're self-studied, is they find it sometimes quite difficult to get that first job opportunity because they can't list that they've done any kind of work in a live org. It's always in the sandbox. So you can register whenever you want, but we will be quite upfront and quite honest with you that you know, we probably might not start to talk to you about job roles until, you know, towards the latter stages of your course.
Okay, next question from Nikki. Do you only work with those that have the Salesforce, that are looking for Salesforce admins, or do you work with any other roles like developer, etc.?
Yeah, so we work across the board. So we're very much well known because of the training that we do for placing entry-level admins. But as the team has grown and as we've developed as a business, we will now place developers, we'll place consultants, project managers, product owners. They're tough to find, but if we could find one, even up to technical architects. So yeah, we place across the board. But the caveat is that we are Salesforce specialists, so everybody that we do place works with Salesforce.
The Loam has asked, must you have a Salesforce admin certificate to be considered for all entry roles? She's still studying for hers at the moment, but it seems to be a little
I think that's
harder
a fairly
without
similar
it.
question to the one last, but you know, the one a couple of questions ago, in that you don't need to have your Salesforce admin cert to be onboarded with us. What I would say is that your certification, as I just said, underpins your skill. So when you are, whether you're going out directly to an employer or through Supermums to one of our jobs, actually what we can do, and we have placed people before that they've got their course booked in. In fact, we've recently just placed somebody into their first role, but you know, she's got her certification or her exam booked in. She hasn't got a cert yet. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's much more challenging if you are applying directly and you don't have your certification. I'm just conscious we're just probably going to have one more question because I'm looking at the time and we've only got an hour.
There is quite a few more questions from, I think, 5 or 6 of you, but if I was to summarize this as the last question for you, Mel, they all seem to be based around what is the job market looking like between the UK, US, Ireland, France, and even Zimbabwe.
Okay. It's probably a really generic answer, but what I would say is that in comparison to last year, the job market in general, so this is not Salesforce, the job market in general is probably a little more cautious. And what that means is that organisations are taking a little bit longer to make decisions and place and come back with offers because they're just being cautious. Salesforce itself, I know there's been a lot of stuff around Salesforce because they've had layoffs in their own business, but that is purely a balancing of the scales for them. You know, in the pandemic, they overhired, and there's, you know, as 2 years later, they're having to balance the books, if you like. So they've got all of these account executives going out and selling their product. They now don't need them because their market hasn't slowed down, but they've got, you know, they don't need that vast number of people to support them. So I think that's created a few waves. But what I would say is that at the moment, organisations are still hiring, particularly around non-profits and end users. I would say that consultancies are still hiring, but they're a little bit slower than what they've been or what they were this time last year. And that probably comes from the fact that because there is a slight shift in the market and some hesitancy around, is there going to be a recession or not? Although they say not now, that I would say that organisations that were looking to develop their Salesforce platform aren't shelving buying or finishing off their project, they're just taking longer. And what that means in the consultancy world is they obviously work on implementation. So because that process of Salesforce getting the sale to, you know, the SI or the consultancy implementing it, that's slowed down a little bit. But I would say that in general, Salesforce is still strong and true to their mission. You know, they said that they needed to bring in somewhere in the region of 9 million jobs between 2019 and 2026, and they haven't reduced that number. So it's still busy. There are organizations out there hiring.
Okay. I think that's it, Mel.
Okay. Look, we hope that you have you can go away from today with a couple of takeaways, and that there's been just that little bit extra information for you to, whether it's because you're considering doing your next search or whatever, but the market is buoyant. So, you know, I would say keep at it. If you've got some interview hints and tips from ICRA, that's great. If contracting becomes of interest to you, then, you know, reach out. If you are looking to grow your team, definitely please reach out, because you can see on here that there's plenty of people that are looking for job opportunities. And hopefully what you've got from Paula is an opportunity to, you know, understand how you can move your career quite quickly. We love working in this sector, and we love working with, you know, our super mums and, you know, candidates that aren't our super mums. Actually, we enjoy working and finding out more about people's skills. In terms of how you can reach us, we're all on LinkedIn, so if you've written our names down, please feel free to reach out. You can also find us on our website, so www.supermums.org. That will lead you to the recruitment page. If you click on the recruitment page, you will find that you can apply for any of our jobs. You can send your CV and you can sign up for our job alerts. So any new job that goes on the system, you will get straight into your inbox so that you can apply for that. And if there are any more questions, feel free, send them directly to us. We'd love to answer them, and hopefully we'll go back to this chat, and any questions that we were unable to answer today, we will drop a line and see if we can get those questions answered. But what I would say is thank you so much. We really appreciate your support in joining things like this. It's great to meet you, even though we don't necessarily chat on a one-to-one basis. Hopefully from here, if we've not chatted to you already, we can do. And again, if you are already onboarded with us, but perhaps, you know, you're still waiting for that first opportunity, make sure that you put yourselves in front of the recruiters. Yeah, it's not a one-sided relationship. We are onboarding 20, 30 people a week. And if we onboarded you 4 weeks ago, please don't be insulted by the fact that, you know, we just might forget you. Not permanently, but, you know, where we get in those new people that are coming through, make sure that you're visible, make sure that you're contacting us, make sure that you're letting us know about your job interviews, where you've been, do you need any support, because we may know someone that you've applied to directly. But keep on pushing. Hey, what have you got for me? Is there anything available? Paul has just put a really good comment on there, actually. We are at World Tour, Paula and I, so we'll have those fabulous navy blue Supermums t-shirts on. Come and find us. But thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any feedback, do send it. We'd love to hear it, and how we can improve, and you know, if there's anything that we missed today that we can do again at another time, we'd love to. But thank you very much. Team, if you can stay on, that'd be great. But thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just realised I've been saying thank you and I'm on mute. Thank you.
Thank you.